You are listening to the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast, the podcast for the new hunter, the adult onset hunter, and any other hunter who, like myself, has no idea what we're doing, but we're in the woods anyway because we absolutely love it. I'm a newer hunter, and I'm constantly trying to learn everything I can about this thing that we call hunting, and I just want to share all the stuff that I've learned with you guys. So this is our first episode of the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast. I could not be more excited to have our first guest on for it. He hails from New York City. He's a newer hunter. I will not call him an adult onset hunter, but in his words, he's just late to the hunt. He served our country as a Marine, and he is now serving big cans of whoop ass on all the turkeys and all the deer in New York. His passion for hunting extends beyond just being in the woods as he works to educate other new hunters through his Instagram, which is at Urban Archery NYC, and his own podcast, When the Hunt Calls. You guys probably already know who I'm talking about, but if you don't, please welcome to the podcast, Cliff Cadet. All right, so hey, Cliff, good to see you, man. Good to finally talk to you. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thanks for inviting me on, brother. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. It's my honor. So a quick little thing I want you guys to know, and I'm sure you know this, but I would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for you, because back in the beginning, I heard you on Cuz's podcast, and I remember messaging you, and I was like, hey, man, I heard you. I think what you're doing is awesome. I've kind of had a similar idea, and you were just like, do it. And that was a little push that kicked me into doing this whole antler and feather thing and actually taking it seriously versus just like, I think it would be valuable, maybe. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, hey, it's cool someone else is doing that. And you were just like, you need to do it. We need more voices like this. So here we are. So I need to thank you. If people find value in it, they need to thank you, because otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation to begin with. So
dude, no thanks necessary, man, because like I said before, when you DM me, people need to hear stories about new hunters from different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? You and I are coming from two totally different places. So where one might not find value in my content because I'm from an urban area, they might find value in yours, and you know, vice versa.
Right. So like I was telling you earlier, I'm gonna open in a real quick prayer, and then I'll just cut into some questions I got for you. So all right, Lord, we thank you for Jesus. We thank you for what he did on the cross for us. I thank you that you made Cliff and my path cross, that I'm thankful for him and his willingness to come on here. And we just ask that you be over this conversation, make it fruitful, make it valuable for people who are looking for content that is trying to get them into your creation. And we just ask all this through Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. You are actually, I think, the second hunter I've ever shared a prayer with. The first one being my mentor. Yeah.
Well, you're my first on here. So, or my first in general. I think a lot of hunters share that, share the same beliefs, share the same values. I just think we need to be more bold about it. And in our current culture and the current world, regardless of your politics or anything else, Jesus is first. So if you don't start there, you're not going anywhere. So I'm just gonna jump right in. So I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are. But for those that don't, can you just get a little brief rundown about yourself, where you're from, because that's really important for this whole thing. A little bit of what you do, and how did you even get into hunting in the first place?
All right, so my name is Cliff Cadet. I am, and I mean, everybody knows the phrase adult onset hunter, and I'm from New York City, specifically Queens, New York. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, currently reside in Queens. I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with New York City, but I've
been there. It's awesome.
Yeah, see, there you go. And man, I got into bow hunting All right, so my story begins back in 2017, right? My cousin started shooting archery with his daughter as, you know, an activity to do on the weekends, and I happened to be, what do you call it, tagging along with him while he was heading to a big box store to purchase some accessories for his bow. And no pun intended, but I pulled the trigger on, bow purchase for myself. I shot off and on at some local ranges here in the city for like the rest of that year, 2017. But to be honest, kind of like a kid at Christmas time with a new toy after Christmas, so all 2018, my bow was just gathering dust, up on a
Yeah,
shelf and
yeah.
whatnot. So then, so that was all of 2018. And then literally December 2018, I was like, you know what? I really want to commit to this, commit to shooting, and I bought my own target. My mother-in-law, see, I live in a small two-bedroom apartment with my wife and kids, but my mother-in-law owns her own home. So I asked her, hey, if I purchase a target, would you let me shoot in your driveway? And she was really cool about it. So now this is the dead of winter. And New York City winters aren't that very forgiving, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I dressed for the cold and I was shooting her driveway. And then that following year, January of 2019, I created my Instagram account, which is Urban Archery NYC. And at that same time, what happened to be going on was the Archery Trade Associations convention, the ATA convention.
Hmm.
And that's when I came across people like Cam Haynes, John Dudley, other big names in the hunting community, the bow hunting community or industry, I
The
should say.
Masters, yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the light bulb went off. Like, because originally I was, just shooting archery, and I was like, wow, hunting, bow hunting. I was like, there's a whole convention dedicated to this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of a comic book geek myself. So
Yeah.
I go to I go to the New York City Comic Con here. So
Right, right.
I understand conventions dedicated to certain mediums and whatnot. I just never thought there'd be one dedicated specifically to bow hunting. And then that just started the ball rolling. I started asking a lot of questions, picking brains. I ended up getting my hunter safety and bow hunter safety done that year, and then um stepped foot into the woods the fall of 2019. And so my hunting journey began this fall will make 3 years, so almost 3 years ago.
Nice, nice. So just because this show is going to be geared, like I said, it's for all hunters and there's going to be plenty of great stories. So it's not just for new hunters, but for the brand new hunters or those people who are on the fence, it's intimidating, whatever it might be. What would you say? I don't want to make you do like a top three, but what are some of the most intimidating obstacles you faced getting into your particular hunting situation? Especially considering where you're at. I'm in Iowa, so I'm in the city. However, I drive 20 minutes down the road. I'm in the middle of the country. I have public land
Wow.
right around me within like a half hour. Now, I know your situation's quite different than that. Can you kind of maybe talk a little bit about to like how do you even get to where you hunt? Because I think I've seen a picture. It looks like you're about to get on a subway with a bow.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but can you talk a little bit about like, yeah,
All
just
right.
how you,
So
yeah.
the first thing is I want to say logistics. All right. Family wise, I think it's all logistics. So logistics is a broad
Yeah.
term for everything, because I'm a husband, I'm a father, um, and the thing is, when I was growing up, while I had both my parents, I'm the son of two immigrants, and for them, it was all about working hard and going to school, getting an education. So my parents weren't home a lot because they were working and they were in school and college. So I played a lot of sports growing up, specifically basketball. So a lot of the
Hmm.
times my parents missed my games but I understood why. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because my parents were
Right.
working to keep a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my gut.
Yep.
But I told myself, I always knew that when I had a family, my commitment would be to them first. So now, keeping that in mind, that very first season I hunted, that fall of 2019, was my daughter's first year in junior high school. She made the volleyball team. So now I've got to juggle my want to get out into the woods with making sure I don't miss one of her games. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my youngest son, he started playing basketball for the local church. Right. So again, same thing, my commitment, knowing that I wanted to put them first and not miss not one of their games.
Right.
I ended up hunting a total of 3 days that
Yeah.
season in 2019, and that's it. So that's the biggest thing for me, is that I don't come from a family of hunters. I have friends who hunt now, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I've kind of like put feelers out, and turns out there are guys at work who hunt. It was just they never
Right.
spoke about it. Um so for me, I like to say I've made, because a lot of people, man, I catch you know what? So logistics is part of it. Um, and I've made a lot of my journey public on social media.
Yeah.
So now the second obstacle is the backlash I get via social media, because a lot of people think I don't hunt hard enough. They think I'm not out there enough. You know what I'm saying? So I get
Yeah.
it. I understand. There are people who come from, you know, who believe in the idea that if you're passionate about it, you're going to be out there all day, every day, if the season permits it. I get it. I don't make excuses. So my kids are never excuses. They
Right.
are the choice. They are the choice that I make to. I would rather be sitting. Granted, I would enjoy a great sit in a tree stand or in my climber in the woods, but if I've got to choose,
Right.
sitting in the bleachers at my kid's game and then being in a tree stand, I'm gonna put my kids first all day, every day.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so I totally get it. I get it. Is there a higher chance, a higher probability of me being successful and arrowing my first deer or second deer, whatever it may be? You know what I'm saying? If I'm out in the woods more, yes, I totally agree. But I know this, so because I've made this choice, I prepared myself mentally for knowing that, because I don't spend as much time in the woods, whatever sign or idea or plan I may have formulated for being out in the woods on this particular day, everything may change if I'm not back there the next day, the following day.
Right.
So things are going to change if I don't step in the woods until maybe 2 weeks after the last time I was able to be in the woods. And I'm okay with that. But other people are not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And that's it's a big priority thing. I don't know. I'm one of the reasons I reached out to you in the first place is because we are from very different places and we have very different obstacles. We also have a lot of the same obstacles, as well as I am also not from a hunting family. I didn't start hunting till I was 32 years old. I had to learn off YouTube from Cam Haynes, John Dudley. I'm also a father and a husband of two small kids, and my kids aren't yet. My oldest is going into preschool, so I haven't had to deal with sports yet. But yeah, I'm fully aware that the time I get to be in the woods, I'm going to give it 150% when I'm there. I'm okay. Like it's what you're saying. I'm okay if I end the season and I don't kill one, but I got to go to every game. I'm damn sure
Yes.
going to be at every game. And it's not to criticize anybody, but me personally, and as you said, my family's first in that situation. Now, my wife's pretty supportive about, no, watch kids, get out there. But yeah, I know that's once I'm gonna try to. I was a wrestler, so I'm gonna try to get my kids into wrestling. Winter is over. That's tournaments every weekend, So I'm gonna, I've got some similar obstacles coming up in my life, but yeah, that was one thing I thought was so cool about you is you share a lot of the same values and principles in terms of family first, Christianity, things like that. So I think that's really cool that you've had that conversation with yourself and you know what to expect, and you're realistic about, hey man, I get to hunt X amount of days a year, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. The important thing is I got to see my girl make a shot or whatever it is.
Exactly.
So
for me, it's also about making sure then whatever time I do spend out in the woods is quality time that I've walked away learning something. If it's not something by ways of tracking, it's coming across a new spot, whatever it may be, I try to capitalize on that time that I have out there. Now, you had asked for kind of like 3 obstacles. So I said logistics in terms of family, and then kind of like the social media stuff that I go through. But then I got to go. The third one is logistics again, but this time in terms of getting from the city to the woods. Because
I want to know about this subway picture, man. That was
so I was the subject of a magazine article on Turkey Call, the NWTF's magazine. And what happened was I basically came up with a plan with my mentor. Now, this plan only works if you've got here in New York City at least, is if you've got somebody to pick you up at the other end. So at the time we only had one car in my family between, myself, my wife, and kids. So
yep.
Now we have 2 vehicles. So if I need to, or if I want to go hunt and, our family schedule permits, I can just grab one car and my wife isn't left at home with the kids. So this was, I want to say around Halloween of 2020, my wife was at her mom's house with the kids, and I wanted to go hunting that Halloween weekend. So I literally had to plan, how can I get from Queens to this public land that's by driving, it's less than an hour from my home. But now it turns into like an almost 2-hour commute because I'm taking a bus and 2 trains actually. So there's a city bus and train that I'd be taking to like an Amtrak style type of train up north. And then my mentor would scoop me up at the train station there. We'd head to public land, hunt, and then I just have to pay attention to what the schedule is. And then he'd be dropping me off back at the train station. Now that primarily works best during the turkey season, because during the spring turkey season, it's only half a day of hunting out here, so it's only from sunrise to noon. So we were trying that out during the deer season and really trying to figure out how I would get my deer home. You know what I'm saying? Luckily,
yeah,
I didn't kill anything, but I know of a guy who lives in Lower Manhattan, and he literally got on Metro North, went way past where I go, hunted with his rifle, killed a buck, packed it out, quartered it, what is that? Yeah, quartered it, right? Quartered it.
Yeah.
And then packed it up and hopped on the train right back home.
No kidding. Antlers and all?
Yep, right back home. Antlers and all. And I was worried, I was like, did you get any flack from some antis or anything like that? He goes, he got some weird looks, but that was about the worst of it. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't anything too crazy for him. Now, would I be able to do that? I don't know. But I would highly recommend that if anyone does consider doing that, that's in, a big city or anything like that, I would recommend trying it out with turkey season first, because it literally requires maybe a cooler to hold your turkey once you've butchered it, you know what I'm saying, and put everything away, and you can still carry it all out, carry it home.
Right.
So
yeah, it's not quite as alarming as a deer.
Exactly.
I obviously don't. All I hear about New York gun related is news. So it's like, how did that work? A dude getting on all that with just the rifle? Like, that seems like that would be like a big deal, in general.
This guy, I kind of stop referring to him as this guy, but his name is Renee. Now, what Renee did is he's totally aware of his particular situation. So even when he needs to travel with his rifle to, let's say, a local range or something like that, gun range, what he did was he purchased like bumper stickers from local bands and specifically the New York Philharmonic, right?
Yep.
And he slaps those stickers all on his case.
So
And
he's just carrying
boom,
a guitar or something.
exactly. So
Smart move.
it alleviates the worries of, you know, anyone that's riding the train with him. Like, all right, what's in that case? I mean,
Right.
this of course was, I guess, a few years before. I mean, what happened to the folks in our city on the train just a couple of months back? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, granted, people may be a little bit more alarmed now, but like, I'm waiting on a case now, that looks a little bit more like a rifle case, and I'm trying to get. There's a local graffiti artist. I'm trying to get him to do a couple of pieces on my
Yeah.
bow case, so it
Yeah.
could be a little bit less assuming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That's a good idea. So you mentioned being involved with the NWTF, and I don't know to what extent you are, but how did you I mean, you've only turkey hunted for what, 1-2 years?
Yeah. My first turkey hunt was May of 2020, and that's the only time so far that I've actually killed a turkey.
Yeah.
That was successful. I
With
hunted with
a
my
bow,
mentor.
everybody.
Yes, with a bow.
With a
Um,
bow.
that was that's probably my greatest archery shot to date, because I took
Yeah.
that shot sitting on my butt with my legs kicked out in front of me in a V position, and my bow in front of me. So my
And
greatest
you weren't
archery
in a
shot to
blind or
date.
anything either, were you?
No,
You know how impossible that is?
dude, I was sitting with my back up
Man.
against a tree, and my mentor was hiding behind a small rock wall. He kind of signaled to me, like, "Can you shoot over me?" And I was like, "Dude, if you duck, I was like, I can, and you know,
Yeah.
and you trust me, I can shoot over
Yeah.
you and this wall." And I did that, and like I said, my greatest archery shot to date.
Oh my gosh.
But
You had to be absolutely pumped for that.
yeah, very much so. But my relationship with the NWTF began last year. They reached out because they were actually in the process of like a brand evolution, a whole rebranding.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a member yourself, but you've noticed there's a change in the logo,
Yep.
all right?
Yep.
Um, so, and I guess they also changed the name of the magazine. I believe, I could be wrong, but so they wanted to do a piece on me highlighting, you know, how, because I don't know where they caught on to it, how they heard my story about getting on the train to meet up with my mentor, but
Right.
they came out, wrote a piece on me, photographed myself and my mentor on a hunt, and yeah, and that was it. And so it started there, and the gentleman who penned the article, while he was interviewing me, you know, I didn't know that the NWTF had chapters throughout the United States, that there were state
Yeah.
chapters. And so in conversation with him, I learned, oh, there was a chapter in New York State. Then I asked him, you know, curiosity got the best of me. And I asked him, I was like, is there a chapter in New York City? And he was like, no, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, no. So that kind of stuck in the back of my mind for, this was last May that they did the art, that they came out. Yeah. So the writer came and met with me last May. And so for like a year and or so, it was just the idea of a chapter in New York City, like, really intrigued me. So I looked into, while I had a general understanding of, you know, what the NWTF, and we keep saying the abbreviation. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but they're the National Wild Turkey Federation.
Yeah.
And truth be told, like, I have a growing love for turkey hunting. So I thoroughly enjoy deer hunting, but I really enjoy turkey hunting. And so the idea of starting a chapter in New York City was really just picture like just a snowball forming in, you know,
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, and a snowball rolling downhill, I should say. and it's just gaining momentum. And then I reached out to that writer again earlier this year, and I was like, hey, I did some research, and a lot of the people that I really have taken a shine to in the hunting community are members of the NWTF. You
Mm-hmm.
know, some really great people, like from, dude, like I got an executive from I'm not sure if you're a pro football fan, but from the Carolina
Mm-hmm.
Panthers, who reached out to me after that article, and he and
Really?
I, of course, yeah, we he shot me an email, and like we hit each other up periodically. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
awesome.
And he's not anywhere near I'm from, you know what I'm saying? But he reached out because he enjoyed the story and wanted, and we're pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually, Panthers are playing the Giants in September. So
Oh
we're thinking
yeah,
about linking, yeah, we're thinking about linking up.
that'd be
And
cool.
so so yeah, so a couple months ago I reached out to the writer of the article from last year and said, hey, I'm really thinking about starting this chapter. Who can I speak to? Within I think 2 hours, two different people from the NWTF gave me
Really?
a call. Yeah. So you know what? It's really cool to say this now. I can announce on your podcast as of last night, right? We are officially a New York City chapter of the
Nice.
NWTF.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
thank you. So what intrigues me about the NWTF is their mission. Their mission is it serves a dual purpose in that it's conservation minded,
Yep.
and it's about also preserving, hunting heritage. Now, for me, I don't have that heritage. So
Right.
the idea of establishing a chapter here in New York City that could possibly begin a heritage for someone else, if we're able to, as a chapter, implement programs, activities, events, whatever it may be, that starts a journey maybe for a kid or another
Yeah.
adult or teenager, young adult, that appeals to me greatly. And then also as a chapter, we get the opportunity to support the NWTF's mission as a whole, through, there's, for wildlife conservation organizations, they're really big on fundraising. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things that appealed to me with the NWTF is knowing that pretty much like the money goes right back into the organization, into they basically conservation. Like you see the dollars at work, whether it's
Right.
restoring habitat, ensuring that the turkey species exists, throughout the country, and then also making sure that hunting programs exist throughout the country. Like that's it. That's essentially, for me, through my social media platform, I've been trying to be not necessarily a mouthpiece, but allow people to see, hey, oh wow, there's this guy, this person of color from a big city. He's doing this. He's really interested in this. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying like, I'm not on social media saying, hey, I kill 20 turkeys a year. I
Right.
shoot big bucks.
Right.
Buy these products. No,
Right.
I'm literally snapping pictures, taking videos with hopes of people to see like, hey, this guy's from New York City and he's doing it. Like, and it's not just me in New York City. Like I've come across, there's this dude named Lewis from the Bronx. He's a big time duck hunter. What he's into waterfowl,
Really.
period. Ducks, geese. He's in his early 30s. You know what I'm saying? And that amazed me. You know what I'm saying? There's a kid in med school here in New York City. He's originally from Louisiana, but he lives out here in New York City now. But he's an avid fisherman, deer hunter. He's really into fly fishing. I know that because he's a part of I think, um what is the organization? It has to do with trout, but he's heavy into fishing for trout. And then there's this kid, I only know him through social media, but if you guys ever get a chance, look up on Instagram, Beast River Fishing, right?
Okay.
And it's this guy from Lower Manhattan who fishes the East River. He's the island. I mean, Manhattan is an island, and this dude
Yeah.
is all over just fishing, and I mean,
That's awesome.
killing it. So it's there's this idea, I believe, within the hunting community and the hunting industry. Like, I don't want to say just New York City, but that a lot of big cities you're not going to find, many hunters and stuff like
Right.
that. There are a lot of hunters out here. Maybe not many of color, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
there are a lot of hunters out here. And my mission with my social media platform is to kind of say like, hey, like we're out here, we're doing this. And while my story may differ from yours, even though you live in the same city as me, like I'm the guy that, like I said, I put family first. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna hunt as much as other people do, but you might be the guy that, what do you call it? That'll get out there like
Yeah.
a week at a time. Be able to take a hunting trip and hunt hard, as some people would say.
Right.
But that's
Right.
okay too. That's okay too. The idea is just getting out there and letting people in my city and other cities know, like, hey, this opportunity is available to you as well, to you, your kids, your friends, your family, whatever it may be.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it's yeah, you think Manhattan, and the last thing that comes to your mind is a dude in camo with a bow. So I think that's you're I mean, there's plenty of me all over Iowa, but I think for what you're doing, for where you're at, and you're showing that, hey, this sport is not just for white dudes in the Midwest that like to shoot deer and shoot turkey. Like, this is God gave us hunting, and it is beautiful in so many different ways. And to think that maybe that what we love and enjoy about the woods is cut off to certain people just because they don't think it's something that they can do. Like, I just think it's awesome that you're offering that avenue of, it's just, I want everybody to experience the woods waking up. I mean, there's nothing
Yes.
cooler than that. And so I really think what you're doing is just awesome. Like, I really love it.
Nah, thank you, man. And I appreciate that. And to you, the same thing. It's what you're doing is you're taking a step, a leap of faith, if you will, doing the same, you're doing the same thing. You're saying, yeah, you said you're out in Iowa, right?
Yep.
So, oh, by the way, another conversation we should have. I actually visited Iowa. I was out in Pella.
Oh yeah,
back.
there you go. And we're back.
All right.
Nice try, Zoom.
Real quick, just so like I said before, I was in a side conversation. I've been out to Pella, Iowa before.
Yeah.
But
get on those windows, son.
yeah. I was out at are you familiar with Central College?
Yeah. Yep.
That's located out there. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was doing a show out there years
okay.
ago, back in 2003. That's when
really?
I was out there.
Good deal.
Yeah. But like I was saying before, like, what you're doing, you're taking a leap of faith yourself. You're telling your story as only you can tell it, coming from Iowa. And that's all that I'm doing as well. And I like what you were saying in terms of, by, I guess, me having that social media visibility, it allows someone who looks like me, who comes from where I've come from, to see like, oh wow, somebody's like me is doing it. And I totally agree, because it's kind of like when I was a kid, a lot of programs I used to take part in my neighborhood growing up used to be from people that did not come from my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So while they had an idea of things that kids in my neighborhood go through, they can't necessarily relate. You know what I'm saying? So it's that's what I'm trying to do, man. It's at the end of the day is just have fun with it, and just give people what do you call it, wherever they're from, even whether it's a city out west, down south, further north, you know what I'm saying? If you're having any issues with getting out into the woods, then don't hesitate to hit people up like yourself or myself. Because that's the other thing is, what I love about hunting as well has been the opportunity to meet people like yourself, the networking. You know what I'm saying? Because then if somebody might really dig your vibe, you know what I'm saying? And even though let's say they're out in Miami, let's say big city down south, but if you're from Iowa, but they really dig in your personality, they can relate to you. And they're like, hey, I'm from this city. I'd really like to get into bow hunting. What should I do? And be like, hey, thanks for reaching out. I've got a buddy in New York City who's got a similar story and he's doing
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Here's his contact info. You know what I'm saying? And then I could walk him through some stuff. And in turn, I don't know anything about the Midwest, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
except for the rows of cornfields that I saw while I was out there.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
and I can do the same thing, be like, hey, I've got a buddy named Vince in Iowa. He could speak more to anything, whether it's dealing with the DNR, figuring out hunter safety, figuring out public
Right.
land, and so on. That's where I think the community could stand to use a little bit of a boost, if you will, the hunting
Yeah.
community, in that I feel like if folks challenge their way, if people within the hunting community challenge their ways of thinking of what they believe hunting should be, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And open it's gonna open it up to a huge amount of diversity. You know what I'm saying? Like if folks within the hunting community, like the way I get bashed sometimes on social media, if folks within the hunting community could get past that, I'm not hunting the entire weekend. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If they could get past that and realize I'm just learning, and I'm enjoying myself doing what I'm doing. So if I'm enjoying myself and what I'm doing is ethical, and even because, like, let me put it this way, like, for example, I know being brand new, I don't want to mess up other guys' hunts. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So if I get to the woods and I see somebody else has gotten to a spot before I have, like, whether it's like they're signaling on a headlamp or stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be that guy that's gonna be like, I'm still gonna traipse, just lollygag or
Right.
start making noise all through the woods. I'm gonna back out. Like, I took a buddy turkey hunting this past May. We made it halfway up this mountain, and some guys who came in from the other side of the mountain beat us to the top. They signaled with their flashlights. I was like, we're backing out. He's like, all right, no problem. And I didn't want to even just walk. We were heading up the mountain. I didn't want to just turn left and try to avoid those guys, or turn right and avoid those guys, because to me, we could have made so much noise and spooked any turkeys on our way and messed
Right.
up their hunt. I'm like, you know what? They were there first. We just headed right back downhill,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's the thing. If I feel like if the person is enjoying their hunt, leave them alone. If they're enjoying learning, if they're enjoying having conversations with people, leave them alone, because at the end of the day, they're paying for tags just like you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're getting out there and practicing, and for all intents and purposes, preaching the word of hunting. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So, and I think, but then on the other side, like, I think there is, and not even just in the hunting community, but in all aspects on social media, there's that whole influencer community as well. So a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people are wary of that, and and I'm not going to complain or anything like that. I understand where a lot of guys are coming from, and to me, if you engage me in a conversation, that's one thing, because I really believe if somebody that thinks I'm just an influencer or out for, or thinks anyone is just an influencer and out to make a buck or something like that, engage them in a conversation instead of attacking them. All
Right.
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 Figure out where they're coming from, what they're doing, and do your best. Do the best as you can. Do the best you can, which is kind of difficult because it's social media, but to get an idea of what their intent is, and then you know what, I don't want to say make a judgment, but then if you don't like what they're about, don't follow them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I used to be in PR years ago, and I had learned early on, what was they say? The only bad press is no press. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So when guys are like bad mouthing me, like leaving like 20 comments on a post, like you just affected the Instagram algorithm, and now a lot
Right.
more people are gonna
Yeah.
see
Thanks,
this
bro.
post. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I got no problem killing you with kindness and replying,
Yeah.
because you're just putting my content out there for me. You're doing the work for me. You know what I'm saying? And so it's either the guys quit because they realize they're not getting under my skin. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I feel like I kind of veered off on a whole other tangent.
You're all good, man. You're all good.
But at the end of the day, I think if people challenge the way they think about, and I guess it could apply to anything in life, but if they challenge their thinking and or not even challenge their thinking, but are willing to change the way they think, like if a new idea is kind of offered to them, would they be willing to be like, oh yeah, I could see that working too? You know what I'm saying? Then hey, just adopt that, and they'd realize that there's a wealth of diversity that's out there. That, I mean, you engage people that don't look like you, that aren't where you're from. That in turn will allow for folks to feel a little bit more comfortable to try to engage the hunting community, allow them to feel more welcome, and then in turn, that diversity will be reflected in all of our numbers.
Yeah, for sure. And it's it's part of what I'm trying to do, what you're trying to do too. I think it's important, like you said before in the very beginning with me, we need more voices of, with all due respect to your John Dudleys, your Cam Hanes, because that's how I know how to shoot a bow.
Amen. Yep.
But like I've said on a different podcast, if all you have is that, and that's what your expectation of hunting is, and you don't get to see average dudes who have to work around family, who aren't killing deer all the time, or if you don't know that world exists and you do get out in the woods, I mean, your expectations are going to be a little high. And I think it's okay to, or it's a good thing to have the realistic side of hunting also put out there. And I mean, you do an excellent job with that. And I know you got to get into your family, so I'll cut it up or cut it short here. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate all your time. I think it's been awesome. I've just been waiting to meet you finally, or talk to you finally after all this time. And
same here.
A sincere thank you from me to you, because like I said, we wouldn't even be talking if you hadn't. You could have just ignored the message. You could have whatever, and you hit me with the Nike slogan, and here we are. So I appreciate that. But yeah, before we get off real quick, let everyone know, where can they find you on Instagram, if you're what your podcast, what that's called, where they can see that, because I think there's a lot of value in what you're doing. I think a lot of people would really benefit from following along.
I appreciate it. So you guys can find me primarily on Instagram as @UrbanArcheryNYC. I do have a podcast which is entitled When the Hunt Calls. And it's just, casual conversations with people just like we're having now. But I'll announce here, I'm about to put out one more episode, and then that's probably going to be that for a while. Mainly because I really want to focus my energies on this NWTF chapter. Yeah. And really, because I mean, the podcast initially was an opportunity for me to have really cool conversations, like I said, like we're having now.
Right.
So it was more, that one was kind of like a selfish endeavor, I'll be honest. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got to speak to some really cool people, but my primary means of communication and putting out content is Instagram. And then now it's going to be through the NWTF, scheduling events and such. So you can find me on Instagram, UrbanArcheryNYC. Please, guys, listening, also give us a follow on Instagram for our chapter. It's nwtf.nyc. Give us a follow there. And hey, just keeping an eye out for more content, because just like I'm doing with my social media page, I want to do the same thing with our chapter, is really reaching out to anyone and everyone, man. And dude, I gotta say thank you for this invitation. This conversation has been a long time coming, I think. And to everyone listening, do exactly like Vince is doing, because the more voices, especially from newer hunters, you know what I'm saying, the better. Because absolutely. A lot of people who have a lot more skin in the game than I do, and who have a lot more history in the hunting industry and hunting community, a lot more experience. You hear about the whole R3 movement and talking about getting newer hunters out there, they need to hear stories from everyone. You know what I'm saying? So to me, like, who was I not to tell you not to do what you're doing right now? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I encourage anyone, everyone. Hey, if you become a Joe Rogan, you know what I'm saying? I could be like, yo, I was on Vince's podcast
Right.
way back when. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is, man. It's like the more voices, the more voices preaching, not even preaching, that the more voices that can, yeah, preach positivity, that can preach understanding in terms of where people are coming from in the community, the better, man. So
Yeah,
kudos
for
to you.
sure.
Dude, I wish you nothing but the greatest blessings possible that God can bestow upon you in terms of just everything, every aspect, especially this.
Well, thanks, man. And again, I appreciate your time, and hopefully I can have you on. Maybe I can have you a repeat guest, because there's so many more things I'd love to talk to you about, but you just let me know when you're available, because you're
I'd be
welcome
honored,
on
brother.
here
I'd be honored.
anytime. And hey guys, if you like this show and you found it valuable, go ahead and run over it, like, subscribe, follow, give the show a good rating on whichever platform you're listening to. I know I appreciate every single one of you guys that are listening, and we are going to catch you guys. This is the Antler and Feather Co podcast, episode number 1. Thanks to Cliff. And we will catch you guys next week. And again, I just appreciate everybody, and we're going to wrap it up, man. Thanks a lot. And I hope you have a great night. Tell the family I said hello, and I can't wait to talk to you again, man.
Will do.
You are listening to the Antler and Feather Co podcast.